Alright, there we go. I believe we are all live now. Apologies, I was trying to get the video to publish, but I just couldn't get it to go through, unfortunately. And yep, there's my voice. So everything is all good. Let me just stick it in the announcements. So everyone's aware. Yeah, I was just trying to get it up and it just wouldn't post the video for some reason. But yeah, we're watching the finale, the final race of... What do I need? I want gap to leader, there we go. Watching the final race of season 17 of ALR. Unfortunately, we've only got a small lobby today, which is a big shame because I was hoping to see everyone come out big for this final race and hopefully put on a show for everyone. We do have a title fight on our hands still. We've got Slenderman and Lucky High One in P9 and 10 yet set a lap. Those two are the guys who are fighting for the title. Well, I don't really know who we can go on board with. I guess we'll go on board with Lucky. He's just on an outlap championship leader so far. If he gets P3, then that will likely be enough for him to win the title. There is a 10-point gap between Swenderman and Lucky High One. Lucky High One is in the lead by 10 points. I would need to check who has more race wins if he does come third and Swen wins, but that's a problem for another day, isn't it? But yeah, the way I see it is if Lucky can get a podium, he will likely be winning this season. If Swen needs to win the race, basically, to have an opportunity, especially with there being less people available this week. Let me just go bring up the standings so I can have a little look. They've not been updated post-Stewards, which is a shame, but yeah, Lucky would win, because Lucky has 3 wins this season. Swen is on 1 win. So obviously the additional win he would get wouldn't be enough to overtake his title rival. Anyway, Hallinan has just taken pole position, just slightly ahead of Nicholas, and I'm not sure if everyone is aware, but just want to make you guys aware that we do need to we do have sign-ups open for season 18, it would be, of our Formula 1 league, so make sure to go ahead and give that a go if you are interested. Would be good to get as many of you guys signing up for the next season. We do have a lot of sign-ups today, unfortunately. We've done really well for attendance for tier 2. We've been getting like full grids in pretty much every race up until this final one, which is where for some reason they've just sort of tailed off a cliff. But yeah, hopefully that will improve next season. Obviously next season's grids really do depend on what we're doing, but it looks like Lucky's invalidated his lap, so we'll go on board with Swen, obviously one of the other guys in the title fight. So yeah, he looks like he set a purple first sector, not a purple second sector though. 57.7 over the line there. Savvy GP has actually done a really good lap there, much better than what he managed in the practice lobbies here, which is good to see. Sven coming up to the final corner, hits his braking point beautifully, coming across the line, and it's a 24.1. So on pole he goes. Sven the Mem. Purple third sector, purple first sector, obviously middle sector. Some room left out there, but I'm sure he'll be more than happy. Arctic Squirrel's looking on a good lap here as well. Must have messed up the final sector though, because he was doing really well. I love how these McLarens just follow each other out, like proper team orders and everything, like acting like a real team that you see in Formula 1. It's so nice to see. No movement in the garage of the constructors' leaders. However, Nicholas is on a lap, and he is one that is not too far off pole position. He's set purple middle sector, so that's, we know who is the one beating Sven here in that middle sector. He didn't improve on his first sector time though, and I actually wasn't paying attention to if he improved on his second sector time or not. But let's see, he's coming around the final sector. He looks a bit, could have gone a bit quicker through there. Didn't really look as committed as he could be. But is what it is. Locks up the front right a little around the final corner, and he does improve up to P2, just 1/10 behind Sven. Look at Chris T. Really good lap from Chris T. He's been a bit off where he was historically this season, but yeah, really good job this time round. Janika setting a purple first sector as well. Could we see a big improvement from the Hungarian driver in the Ferrari this week? Down the final straight, gonna max out before we even get to the little kink. Down to second gear for the chicane. Yep, really nice lines. Get on the throttle now, all the way down to the newly renovated, I was going to say newly renovated, I think it's been in place for a few years now, but this is the first time I've seen Abu Dhabi have a corner like this. Actually no, 2021 it had the corner like this, didn't it? But yeah, I haven't seen it since then. So to me, I still expect the little chicane coming down the line. Looked like a pretty good second sector from Janika. Again, I was not paying attention to the splits compared to their previous time, unfortunately. Very smoothly done. Now into the final corner, taking it easy onto the throttle and across the line up to P4 for Janika. Really good to see. This field is so closely split. Like, we've only got 13 guys here. More than half of them are separated by just half a second. Lucky High One is now coming to start his lap. Hallinan is also on a lap in front of him, but we'll watch on board with Lucky. I think that's the best person. Actually, let's have a look at Hallinan, what time Hallinan comes first sector split. Just for context. 17.5. Lucky comes over sector 1 for a 17.7, so a little bit slower than Hallinan. Obviously, Hallinan did improve on his previous sector 1, and he is in P5, so we will jump back to Hallinan once we get to... Where does sector 2 end? It's the end of the second straight, so we'll jump back to Hallinan at some point around then, just see how he's doing. But Lucky, big lockup. This is not going to be the best lap from Lucky, and I don't think he's backed out. I think he's carrying on, so we can go on board with Hallinan now. See what kind of time. It's a 53.5, which is 2/10 down on his previous time. Is it going to tell us what Lucky did? It now just says out lap, which is not the case. I don't know why that's happened. I don't think Hadlinan's going to be improving on his time, though. He does come into the pits as suspected. Lucky High One with purple. With the lockup as well, Lucky High One goes purple by 1/10 of a second. That would have been really good to know what his time was through 2 sectors, but unfortunately we weren't going to find out. There's not 9 cars separated by 6/10 of a second as we're on board with Naked Champ coming over. No, I think he's just finished his lap. I think if you look at his battery, it looks like it's completely empty. Looks like Sabi GP is actually going again though, and he actually looks pretty high up. sorry, it looks like a pretty good time so far. It seemed like a really short time to get to that first chicane anyway. He is half a second up. Sabi GP, where has this pace come from? Absolutely flying right now. I might go look at the tier 1 qualifying times to see how they're doing, just for comparison, because actually none of the other guys who Sabi was doing his thingy with have actually participated in today's race, so there won't be any comparison, which is unfortunate. Can I get a tier 1 stream just to see pace comparison? The 23.7, which, I mean, to be honest, it would put him towards the back of the pack in tier 1, which is absolutely crazy. Just like the way these two tiers are split is just so like perfectly. There's just one guy who's well off the back of everything in tier 1, but I'm sure he would have been able to give tier 2 a go. But we'll see if we do have 2 tiers next season. But yeah, Sabi GP, great lap. Up into P1. Chris T, can you improve? He does improve. Goes all the way up to P4, so maybe we're getting a bit of track evolution here. Just 2 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Arctic Squirrel now also 6/10 off on his lap, so I think it must be track evolution. Could see a big improvement from someone like Janika or Sven the Men, who haven't set a lap in a long time. Arctic Squirrel, oh, that's going to damage his gain. Really bad final corner, really bad penultimate corner, and he still improves by 0.8 of a second to jump his teammate up into P10. Massacrator, I think, is starting from the back in the grid today, which I wouldn't recommend. Who can we go on board with next? I think Janika is the next one across the line. Obviously, Sabi's coming into the pits up ahead. He's actually going again. I don't know why he's going again, but yeah, now on board with Janika. Let's see what they do. Really, really smooth sector 1 and lost time as well. That must be all in turn 1 or the exit out the final corner, because there's not really any other places to gain time on this lap. A little bit of oversteer exit in the chicane there in the middle of the track, but it's looking decent. Still just perfectly on board with their previous. That's awful to watch there. Anyway, we do need to go on board with Sven, because yeah, Sven is in the title fight. He's starting his final lap of the session. Sabi GP with a 23.7 out in front. Sven the Men, I didn't see if he improved. I need to pay attention to that more often. It just comes at such a poor time in the lap. It's right before the corner. You want to watch how they're doing around the corner. He doesn't look like he's pushing too mad here and saying that. He's absolutely pushed that corner to the limit there, Sven the Men has. And that one there, taking all the curb and more. Hitting the apex beautifully for the final corner across the line for a 23.9. If he can get past Sabi, then this will be beautiful for his chances with Lucky down in P4. However, Lucky up on his time, potentially going P2, round the final bend, and across the line, pole position by a 1/10 of a second over Sabi GP. Swenderman P3, Nicholas down on his time, Janika also well down on the time. Lucky high one. on provisional pole. It's not the first time we've said that this season, and it will be the last time, where Lucky High 1 on pole, Sabi GP in P2 on debut, Swen and Men P3, Halanan P4. Janika, can you please retire, because otherwise we're going to have to wait. So, a 7/10 of a second separating 9 cars. The 2 McLarens in P10 and 11, the 2 slowest out of everyone who did times. Which is pretty surprising, considering these 2 were leading the constructors' standings at one point in time, and now they're down in last place in qualifying. However, Lucky High 1 on pole position. Can he make the most of it and earn himself the title this season? Alright, we are coming to the end of the formation lap for the final race. Just one more set to go before we start the racing. Obviously hoping for a good one as the sun sets on season 17 of Aero League Racing and on the circuit at Yas Marina as well in Abu Dhabi. So here we go, everyone lining up. Obviously I do need to check tyres. Mostly mediums, a little bit of variation every now and then though. And I think that's all I need. It is. So, obviously, lights coming on board. Here we go. 3, 4, 5. And it's time to go for the finale of Season 17 at Aero League Racing. F1, Abu Dhabi. Sven the Men making a move around the outside. Beautifully done. Nicholas spins early on, which is unfortunate for him, but Lucky has found himself a gap of about 8/10 of a second off the lead. Sabi obviously didn't want to get involved in that title fight, braking early to avoid making contact, and Hallinan has made up some positions as well. Sabi staying in P4, Janika up to P5, and Chris T up to P7. Massacre, who started at the back, finds himself all the way up in P6 now as he makes a move on Chris T down the straight, using a battery to get that move done. Janika looking very racy right on the back of Sabi GP as well, which is good to see. As Massacre probably not going to get a move done. I'm actually interested to see what happens with strategies. Obviously Abu Dhabi is quite a tyre reliant circuit, so I wouldn't be surprised, sorry, if we do see some people going for a two-stop strategy as Janika loses that position now to Massacre, who's on an absolute charge at the start of this race. Lucky Haiwan does set the fastest lap of the race, however, he has not lost Sven the Men, who has actually gained time from the start of the race. Obviously, we saw Lucky had an 8/10 gap after turn 1. Sven's brought that down to half a second, and it'll be interesting to see if, I believe DRS is open this lap, right? If he goes for a move to try and get away from Lucky early on. Obviously, he does need to put a car between himself and Lucky, actually 2 cars between himself and Lucky, but when we look how closely matched this field is, there's definitely a chance to do that. Massacre makes the move on Sabi GP now, up to P4 from the back of the grid. I just can't believe he didn't go for it, starting at the front of the pack, because he's got some fantastic pace that he's showing right now. Sven the Men looking to the outside, probably isn't going to get the move done there. Lucky just has so much more grip on the inside on the racing line. However, Sven holds it round the outside, and that now turns into the inside for the triple apex right-hander, and Sven takes the lead of the race ahead of Lucky Haiwan. Hallinan behind him in P3 and Massacre in P4, who I'm sure we will see get involved in this battle one way or another as we make our way throughout the race. Sven the Men setting the fastest lap of the race, swiftly beaten by Massacre further back. Obviously that was using DRS for both of those guys to set those lap times. Not quite as good a first sector there for Sven the Men this time round, and we've seen that Lucky Haiwan set a really good sector one time the lap before, so he might be coming straight back past Sven after Sven has done all that work to get his car ahead. It would be nice if we could see. However, the game does not want to approve. Further back, we've got Naked Champ making moves on Chris T, El Truco making a move on Nicholas Volkman as well. Doesn't look like Lucky Haiwan is able to get past there. Sabi GP actually having a look on Massacre. Is he going to go for a move here? Yellow flags as well further back. Who spun? It looks like Chris T. I didn't even notice what happened there. I think he's just spun completely on his own since there's no one else around him that looks to have lost time as well. So yeah, I think it was just Christine. He does come into the pits, obviously, well, probably damaged his wing in the process of that spin. Now we go back to the front to have a look how these two are doing. Lucky High One looks a little bit closer this time as the top 5 are beginning to peel away from the rest of the field. There's about a 1.5 second gap now between Sabi and Janika in P6 as that stretches out just a little bit more as Sabi has the RS on, Masquerader up ahead and Janika obviously doesn't. Lucky High One making a move for the lead of the race though. Not the first time that we've seen this. Apologies about that. But yeah, sorry. As I was saying, it's not the first time we've seen Lucky High One leading Swenderman throughout a race and Swen just not really having the pace to get past him. And neither of them really having the pace to break away from one another. It's just in this kind of stalemate where you've got one guy following the other. Neither are fast enough to pull out of DRS. Neither are fast enough to keep the other behind for too long, really. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this does progress. Obviously, Swen needs not just himself to win this race. He also needs other cars. Kind of reminds me when Rosberg won the title, probably about 10 years ago now. We had Lewis Hamilton, I think, won the final race, and he needed someone else to help him out and beat Rosberg as well. Like, it wasn't just on him. He needed help from the rest of the field, but no one could. He did go ahead and win the race that day, obviously, which Swen isn't doing currently. But I think Rosberg finished right behind him in P2, maybe P3, and there wasn't sort of. He needed him to finish just a little bit further back to take the title on the final day. There is a yellow flag again. It's Nicholas on his own back there. He has spun. Sabi making a move on Massacrator. That hairpin. Fair play. Must have done really well to get a move done there cleanly. Looks like Lucky's eking out a little bit of time now. Beautiful camera angle here. It's really cool to see just the lime green car driving around Yas Marina. These 5 guys are performing at such a high level right now. Obviously all pushing each other along. We got Lucky less than a second ahead of Swen, just a second ahead of Halanan, and then these two behind just less than half a second each behind Halanan. Be interesting to see if one of these two can actually overtake Halanan now he doesn't have DRS this lap, and maybe bring us back into a 5-car train. Sabi 8 tenths per second down on his previous sector 1 time, and he's not going to catch up on it if he outbrakes himself like that. Lost half a second to Halanan there, and his opportunity at overtaking him. He's now got to look behind in his rear view mirrors, however. such is the strength of DRS when Hallinan doesn't have DRS. He gained 7/10 of a second to put him 2/10 behind going into the chicane and give him the opportunity to make that move up to P3, and obviously he'll try and bridge those few tenths gap to Sven and men up ahead to try and get these three back into DRS of the leaders as we progress through this race. Big little bit of oversteer there from Sabi. He's actually just dropping Hallinan here in this final sector. Hallinan has managed, just about to hang in there, and he'll need to for a few more corners, but Sabi isn't gaining on those two ahead either, so yeah, it might be time for us to go and have a look at some of the battles on the grid soon. However, I think this might be Massacre's turn to maybe get the move done on the Haas driver. I mean, look how closely separated they are. Sven is barely hanging on to DRS now at this point of the race, but obviously you'd expect that he'll gain some of that under DRS next lap. It's just so cool to watch when there's so little separating the field. Sven, the man, coming in for an early pit stop here, followed by Hallinan. I think these two are going for the two-stop strategy then. I mean, if you're Sven, you've got to try something different, don't you? You need to build a gap to Lucky and hope that guys behind you can also get the move done. But yeah, that's those two into the pits. Naked Champ's got past Janika. What's that, net P6 right now for Naked Champ, who's had a really good season, to be honest. There's a reserve driver as well, just showing like how there hasn't been an opportunity to move up the ranks into a full-time seat, because attendance has been pretty good throughout the season in Tier 2. It's just tonight where we're missing quite a few guys, and it's a shame, because it would have been good to have them here for the title fight. Liven things up a little, but Janika making the move, locking up a little bit. And that means that Naked Champ can get back alongside. I'm actually going to watch on board with Titchy Boom and see. We can't really see what's going on, can we? We've got a camera angle now, finally. Sabi GP earns himself a time penalty already, and he's actually dropped 3 seconds back from Lucky High One. Just showing the pace that Lucky's saved up, and to be honest, if you're Lucky, you want to be using all of your battery on this lap to try and make sure you stay ahead of Sven. And if I'm Lucky, I would be pitting this lap just to cover him off, just have as little gap as possible between you and your title rival. But he stays out, which is interesting. Sabi comes into the pits, Massacre comes into the pits, Naked Champ comes into the pits, so we've only got Janika and Lucky High One who are staying out, probably gonna try and make this a one stop. I mean, when you look at this, Sven has set a purple final sector of the race, so he's making use of those fresh tyres. Actually, Titchy Boom making the move on Janika here. Brownie outside. Janika spins. We've seen that be a problem for Janika quite a bit this season, where they really have the pace to perform well. They just get a little trigger happy when they're in the battles, and it really costs you over the course of a race, let alone over the course of a season. I think last season they were up in the podium, last race, sorry, they were up in the podium position at one point. Had that same thing, just stamping on the throttle a little too soon, coming into the pits now, and getting a 3-second time penalty in the process, which is just a bit of a silly mistake in it. But yeah, Lucky High One with an unassailable lead now of 12 seconds over the only other guy who hasn't yet come into the pits. Sven the Men will undercut him though. And I tell you what, there's a big gap between Sabi and Massacrator and Sven as well. Hallinan's all the way down in P10. I don't know what happened to him. He's in the pits again. Janika retires. And his Janika crashed. We have a safety car. Hallinan just gets out ahead of the safety car. I mean, that's really big news for Lucky High when Janika has crashed in the tunnel. I don't think I've ever seen that. It's an interesting decision from Sven. Staying out, obviously he's thinking that these tyres are not going to go to the end for Lucky High One. So if he stays out, he gets track position and maybe the chance to have a really good restart, and if possible have someone else overtake Lucky. Obviously that's the aim for him here on this restart, isn't it? The thing that is beneficial for Lucky is we do have P3 and P4 behind him who have penalties. Looks like we're going to go around for... Maybe this might be the last lap of the safety car. We'll see. Still got a few guys who need to catch up here. Yes, we are going to have one more lap. Massacre actually overtaking Sabi then for a second. That's weird. Not sure why that's happened. We're about halfway through this race. I think this will likely be the final lap of the safety car though. I mean, how you all doing while we got a safety car? Obviously, as I said before, next season of ALR, sign-ups are out, ready for people to join. I've had a very long week at work. But yeah, looking forward to the football starting. Obviously, this year is the year Arsenal finally win the league. Don't quote me. And it's back tomorrow, and I can't freaking wait. However, this is going to be the lap where the safety car does come in, which is nice. So let's get prepared and let's see if Sven the Men can build a gap on Lucky, or if Lucky will be able to stay in P2 or even P3 and take the title. Would be nice if we got a better camera. Sven is waiting as long as possible to go, and he does go. Gets a decent gap, but actually it's Massacre on Sabi if anyone is going to be making a move. Sabi's going so deep there. Going to lose plenty of time from doing that, and Lucky has managed to stay right on the back of Sven. There's really not much separation in this grid so far, but really good for someone like Nicholas, who's managed to make his way all the way up to the field despite his spin that he had earlier on. Hallinan down in P10. We'll see if he can recover and make his way back up to this top four that he was battling with. As we said, Sven leading the cars down here, choosing to defend the middle of the circuit, and Massacrator up to P2 on the medium compound tyres. He will definitely have to pit again to put on a new compound, because he started on mediums and he's gone over to the mediums again. And I wonder if Sven will notice that Massacrator is on the mediums and let him go, because it could be handy having someone who we can follow in a DRS, because he will definitely keep it this lap and it might pull him along, and potentially, I mean, he can defend from Lucky a little bit better until Massacrator's tyres start to wear a little. But obviously we're not forgetting that Massacrator and Lucky Highwan are teammates. They won the Constructors' Championship for Aston Martin this season. DRS enabled. We've got yellow flags in Sector 1 apparently, but I don't see any yellow flags in Sector 1. Lucky using all of his battery to get alongside Sven, has to back out in the end. Sven takes the apex and stays ahead. We would know that if we had a better camera angle. However, EA, for some reason, love to use that camera angle in every F1 game, and we are blessed with it yet again this year. We've got just under 10 laps to go in season 17 of ALR now. And the gap has never been more close, really, has it? We got 3/10 separating P1 and 2, 4/10 separating P2 and 3, 5/10 separating P3 and 4. Here it is, Lucky going round the outside of Sven. For some reason, Massacre is actually giving Sven the slipstream. However, kind of hindering Sven a little bit as well in the process. Sven does manage to defend from Lucky Highwan. I thought that could have been the moment where Lucky got the move done. It'll be interesting to see if we do see any more pit stops. Obviously, we know Masquerader does need to come into the pits, playing that sort of supporting role for his teammate. It's not the position you want to be in if you're Sven, having the two Aston Martin drivers either side of you and needing help from someone else. However, Massacrator into the pits now on lap 19 we go. 10 laps to go. Naked Champ 3 seconds for corner cutting. A few guys coming into the pits and Naked Champ retires. Not sure why that's happened. However, that does unleash Sven the Men, and that does mean Lucky is right behind Sven with no DRS to defend himself now. Sven doesn't have, so be interesting to see how long he can hold on now. And I tell you what, someone who we haven't spoke about at all this race, 3 people that we haven't spoken about at all this race, Titchy Boom, Prezemu and El Truco. P3, 4 and 5, those guys started towards the back. Titchy Boom's keeping up with these guys, the race leaders. Obviously, he has come into pits for the medium compound. Not sure if they'll make it to the end. Prezemu is also on the mediums. Truco is also on the mediums. So maybe that's why these 3 are doing so well, going about their business, making their way up the field into the top half of the grid. Which, yeah, if they can stay there, it'll be an incredible result for them. I think Titchy Boom's already had a podium this season. So it wouldn't be his first, it would be his second, but I don't think Prezemu's had a podium, and El Truco definitely hasn't had a podium. El Truco scored about 4 points so far this season. Sure, he won't mind me saying that. He's been very critical of his performances thus far. Anyway, need to go back to the front because it is Lucky Highwan who is surely getting past his rival this time round. Which he does comfortably, up to P1 for Lucky Highwan. we'll see if Sven can do anything to get this position back now. And I'll tell you what, I want to go on board with these guys. We've spent a lot of time on the race leaders, and I think it's important to get everyone some coverage, especially in the finale of a season when we're not going to see these guys for at least a few weeks, potentially even longer depending on promotions, relegations, changes, and actually El Truga doesn't want to be seen on camera as he jumps straight into the pits as soon as I go on board with him. Halanan right behind Christie. Obviously Christie, another one who's not really featured the most this season, not really had the best season by his own standards. Halanan has, on the other hand, he's sort of towards the top of the field consistently this season, putting in really good performances, which I'm sure he'll definitely be proud of. Can he make the move down the straight? We've got Arctic Squirrel in this fight as well. Halanan does make the move on Christie. Christie might be looking to come back on him though. These guys both have DRS, obviously with the car just ahead of them. Halanan holds the inside line into this corner, and Christie's coming back at him again, but he's not going to get alongside there, unfortunately. It's not really the type of corner where you can make a move. I do love the stadium, the hotel section at Yas Marina circuit. It's such a beautiful circuit. Lucky High One's really building a gap now to Sven, so unfortunately it seems like that might be all she wrote for the title. Obviously both of them have been a class above the field so far this season. They both missed 2 races, and they're the only people in the fight going into the final round of the season, which is just insane to me that you can be that consistent and that, like, yeah, just consistent is the word, isn't it? Like, they're not really massively faster, but when you look at the 3 people that were on pace with them, Massacre and Halanan over here in P4 and P5, and then Sabi down in P9. Looks like they've lost DRS of each other, so the only people in DRS now is El Truca and Prezemu at the back of the grid. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like El Truca's going to get this move done. Look like a poor exit for him, unfortunately. Would have had to be a really good exit to get that move done on Prezemu. Coming to the pits, I think these two must have both pitted. El Truca's tyres are looking fresh right now, and I swear they looked really grassy and bitty when we last looked at them. My controller is just falling off my leg. I got excited then, thought we had an on-track battle. It's just Nicholas coming into the pits. Fortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be blessed with a battle for the rest of the season. Chat getting excited about Christie. Do you know what? I'd love to see Christie do it as well. Had some good times racing with Chris back in the day. Don't know where he came that season that I'm thinking about. Remember him having a solid one. I can probably try to find it, to be honest. If I had a look for it. However, it's probably time to go on board with the Massacrator. Almost pushing Titchy Boom around that corner there. A little bit of contact makes the move. Titchy Boom backing out there, weirdly. And letting Massacrator go. Obviously, Massacrator does have a 3-second time penalty. But if I'm Titchy Boom, I'm thinking, you've got this 3-second time penalty. I need to stay within 3 seconds of you. Like, the more time I can keep you behind me, the better. Obviously, Massacrator's got more pace right now. He's got fresher tyres. Whereas Titchy Boom needs to stay within 3 seconds over the last 3.5 laps. It's not being done right now. Massacrator obviously has DRS either way. Do you know what? What do I know? Titchy Boom coming back at Massacrator, getting the move done up to P3. What a result. P4 for Massacrator would be enough to solidify third place in the standings, which obviously he does need for his personal sort of hopes this season. Would love to see Titchy Boom getting his second podium of the season, however. Would be great to see. There he is. Makes the move. Tell you what, it looks like Massacrator might have disconnected. If so, Hallinan will be licking his lips and thinking, I can get me in that position. As long as Massacrator doesn't fall down to 7th, he'll be okay in terms of his prize money. So, yeah. That's the sort of area that he'll need to pay attention to. Yellow flag. Arctic Squirrel has spun. He's actually DNF'd as well. He will be classified though, Arctic Squirrel. He's completed enough of the race to be classified, so he will be classified. And anyway, it's probably about time that we go on board with Lucky Highwan. Hallinan obviously trying to get past Massacrator, but it's the final lap of the season for the champion Lucky Highwan. Had a 10-point lead coming into this race. A win here makes that 17 points, 122 points in total this season for Massacrator. He only finished off for Lucky Highwan, sorry. He only finished off the podium one time all season, which is just incredible consistency. Actually, Sven the Man only finished off the podium one time all season. The problem is that Lucky Highwan just had more wins than Sven the Man could manage. The only people who have won races that he's participated in have been Fontani and Massacrator. Just showing the consistency that he's shown throughout the season as the sun is setting on the circuit. You can see the hotel there in the background. One last time, coming into sector 3, Lucky Highwan, triple right-hander, brakes, hits the apex. Will we see any celebration from him? Sweneman looks like he's backing off. He's got like an 11-second gap now. Lucky Highwan, you got time to celebrate if you want, mate. Not really pushing anymore. Round the final corner, and your season 17 champion for tier 2 is Lucky Highwan, fittingly followed across the line by Sven the man who comes P2 for tier 2. Hallinan has made the move on Massacrator up to P4, which is good to see. P4 for him. Massacrator will cross line P5, but his penalty was taken behind Chris T. P5, best result of the season so far for him. Prezemu P7, Sabi GP P8, with his penalty dropping him down just a little bit further. El Truco is going to cross the line in P9, and Nicholas is going to finish in P10. P10. Sorry, I don't know why I found that so confusing. That is Christie's best result of the season, P5, after he achieved a P6 last week. Massacrator takes P3 by 1 point over Fontanu. Really nice way to end things out. Both the title rivals having fantastic races. P1 and P2 for those guys. Titchy Boom gaining his second P3, and I tell you what, like, I don't know who to give driver of the day to. It's Titchy Boom or Lucky for me. I think I'm gonna have to give it to Lucky. He came into this race with one thing that he needed to do to seal his title, and he went above and beyond. He went and got pole, he went and won the race, and all that despite having Sven the Men behind the whole time. Just didn't let the pressure get to him, and he's won the title. Titchy Boom is my other guy, like P10 to P3, fantastic. Like, this guy is just, his consistency is beautiful. Nowhere in qualifying, and has just come through the field and achieved P3, so yeah. I don't know. I think I'll give it to Lucky. Go ahead and check out Tier 1 stream. We will have more news on Aero League Racing Season 18 over the coming weeks. Obviously, Patreon votes closed now, so we do have patrons have chosen a winning track, and not everyone's going to be a big fan of it, let's just say that. Yeah, thank you to anyone who did tune in for any races this season. Thank you to anyone who did participate in any races this season. Go and confirm your sign-ups for Season 18 on Discord, and we'll see you next season. Bye.